Hi, it's Matt here at Go Green Autos. I'm just going to do a quick video now on fitting mud flaps to a Renault Zoe. These are the mud flaps. You get a pair in a pack. They're sort of very thin, flat mud flaps. The part number is 8201212 So I will just show you now what you get and how you fit them. I fitted them to the front. It's the same set of flaps, front and back. So you get a instruction book, which at first look it's a bit confusing what you've actually got to do, because these flaps fit most Renault models, so you have to cut the flap this way and this way depending on what car you've got. So I'll quickly show you. You get a chart. There's actually more than this. These are the pages ripped out for the Zoe. You get a chart which shows you where you cut for this particular, for your vehicle. Fortunately for both front and rear, the Zoe requires no cutting. So this side is the rear, this chart is for the front, and again, where's the Zoe? There's the Zoe, no cutting. So we'll put those to one side for now. So if we jump back to the instructions, you basically got to take the rear wheels off. The front wheels you can do by turning the wheels. You basically can turn them one way. It allows you to get to the screws on this side. The inner screw, it's easier to turn the wheels back the other way, get your drill up underneath and turn it. So the front ones you can do quite easily without taking the wheel off. It's obviously easier if you do take the wheel off, but you know, it's not too bad. If you can lay on the ground and get your hand up behind the wheel, it's fine, you can leave it on. And then this is your instructions for how you cut. None of it is applicable for the Zoe, but obviously if you're going to fit them to another Renault car, then all the others do require cutting. So what you have to basically do for the first step for the Zoe is you have the distance that the mud flap hangs under the car. So if we look at the table for the front, which is this one, here's your distance. We go down to the Zoe and it says 70. So you get these templates pages. So we will lay that out for the one mud flap, and you find line 70 there. So that's the distance the mud flap hangs down. So the best way I found to do it is to mark 70 either side, which I've done there, lay the mud flap on there, and then get a piece of masking tape and tape it. The instructions say use a felt tip pen and draw a line, but if you use a bit of masking tape, it's a completely different colour, usually yellow, and it allows you to see this line much clearer when you've got it on the car. And obviously you fit it, tear the masking tape off, and job done, and there's no felt tip marker left on the edge. So that's for your depth. Then we look at the screw holes, and there's 4 screws hold the mud flaps on, T1, T2, T3 and T4, and then it tells you X, Y and coordinates for each screw. So if we look at the first screw, which is T1, it is showing Y15, Z15. So we go up to our chart and we go Y15, Z15. Oh, sorry, I didn't have the phone in the right place. And we make a hole. So the other thing you're going to need is a little pointed device, or you could use a screw or nail or anything. And you just make a hole in the paper, just a small pinprick, just enough so it comes through the other side, and you'll see why in a minute. And you follow the same for each hole. That's screw 2, that one there is screw 3. Screw 4 is actually over there, which on the, where's the Zoe? Here it is. It's actually saying 220 by 200. That's actually a mistake. That doesn't fix when you've got this on the car. The screw hole is in mid-air. So you actually want to put the screw hole here, or it's not particularly accurate, but somewhere around there, which is actually Z200 Y175. If you make your mark there and make your mark through the paper, that is a much better location for the 4th screw. So when you've done that, you've made your just small pinpricks in the paper. You then lay your mud flap back on the template and get some masking tape and stick it down. 3 or 4 places is fine. So you just want to stick that paper to the mud flap, and then you turn the whole thing over, and then where you see your pinprick, you then drill the holes. The other one's here because that's my first template. It should actually be about there. So you drill 4 holes. The manual says 2mm holes. That's fine. That just gives you a little marker hole. You then need to drill it out. The manual again says 6mm holes. A 4 or 4.5 or 5mm is fine. They don't actually need 6mm. So I think 4.5mm I've just done, and that seems spot on. It just stops that little bit of play on the screws on the mud flap. And when you've done that, you will have your 4 holes on the mud flap, and you're ready to go and fit to the car. So I'll now pause and just go out to the car. So here we are out at the car. Here's the mud flap fitted. What you basically do is position it up at this top corner, so you have your masking tape hanging down at the bottom to give you your depth that the mud flap hangs down. And then you need to put a spirit level on the underneath and find where it sits perfectly level. It's a bit awkward. It takes quite a few attempts to get that right. But once you've got that at the right depth hanging down and level, you then push this corner in, and that's your marker for that top screw. I don't think it's a bit. I was trying to get a torch in there. You can then drill a 2mm hole in there and fix that top screw. That then allows the whole mud flap to pivot around a bit. You then get your spirit level back on there, get it level, and then you can drill your second screw and your third screw. This top screw, in my case, I'm assuming it's the same for everyone, just sat within the plastic lip on here. These other two, I'm not sure whether they're designed to go in the plastic lip. Probably that one is, but the other one drilled into the sill, so I didn't quite like that. So I moved it up just a few millimeters, and that screw got into the plastic wheel arch lining, and I was a bit happier to screw into that. And then your 4th screw, I'm not sure whether it can see, but the hole is sort of 2 inches further in, and that's there's nothing behind it. So that's a new position of the 4th screw, and it just screws into the wheel arch liner up there, and it's quite solid. So to get to that, spin the wheels around the other way, and then you can get from this side of the wheel, but you can get your drill and a screwdriver up behind the tyre. So I will just jump round to the other side. So on the other side of the car, we've got the tyre pointing out, and we can probably see the 4th screw a bit better. And that one is fitted, so if I move back out, there's your mud flap fitted.